all respected guests. Today's, I would say today's chief guest is he himself, our little author, and all my dear friends. What to say? When I completed the reading of this book, it was really wonderful. It was a wonderful experience for me. A 9-year-old kid. Within a year, he has successfully launched 3 books. 3 books. And I had the option to launch his first book. Yeah. Then we have to be very, very careful to speak about his capabilities. He is such a brilliant fellow. Really, I am telling you, if you go through the book, if you seriously read and seriously try to understand how he depicted the things there in the book, then you will understand how brilliant he is. Above the limitations of his age, he has grown to be a thinking individual. Really, so I am a little busy with some multilingual activities recently. I have some Kannada programs, and so I was preparing for that, and during that time, this come now. So I just made a note, and because we have to be very serious about when we comment on him. So Austin's new book, The Day I Found an Egg, is really a wonderful work of literature. We can call it a work of science fiction. It seems to be a science fiction when you go through that. In a larger sense, we can call it. But when we go deeper with the content, it is something more than that. What is the most essential capability a writer should have is nothing but imagination. One of the most brilliant, most genius in science, Albert Einstein, he has told once, imagination is more important than intelligence. Imagination is more important than intelligence. I am an artist working in the basis of intelligence. So this is the words of Albert Einstein, who is considered to be one of the greatest intellectuals ever lived in the world. So imagination, capability of being creative, to see so many things in a very silly material or silly thing. You're able to see so many other things. That's creative, creation. So that quality he has got. And he has a scientific approach towards things. Wherever he mentions, for example, the origin of Earth, or about some reptiles, creatures, so many things, animals, everything comes in. His kingdom is full of animals, trees, reptiles, and so many other things like that. So he is such an environmentalist, and he is a naturalist, as rightly said by him. He is a naturalist to the core. So, while going through this book, whatever I felt, I have made a note and I will be just mentioning a few of them to in front of you. And I don't want to tell you the story at all. I just want to express my wonder, joy, and appreciation of this extraordinary young author. He is a known naturalist at this tender age. He says, I felt nature is the best teacher I ever had. He had written in the book, nature is the best teacher I ever had. It all starts from a trip to Galibore. Galibore Nature Camp near Kanakapura. It is a jungle resort, and and he was just picking up different pebbles for his collection. He found an egg. He finds an egg there. That's how the novel starts. And he takes the egg and keeps it in a drawer in his room without mentioning it to anybody else. And about that he says, I will just read because it will be difficult for me to tell you actually. I have my book is okay, anyway. So then he thinks, when he gets the egg from that area, from that place, he thinks it could be a dino egg, or a monster egg, or a bird egg, or a reptile egg. After returning home, he keeps the egg in a drawer at his room and watches it closely. Austin knew very well how to tell a story. He knew very well how to tell story. He's a very effective storyteller because he knows how to create situations. He has got knowledge of so many things, especially about the ancient, the extinct species, especially dinosaur. So he knows everything about that. He has collected all the details. He wanted to pass it on to the reader, some of those details. So if we just say the details as it is, that will be a science book. It will be an article. Anyone can make an article out of referring from Google or some other agencies. But he doesn't do that. He gives the details and all, but he creates a situation in the story for giving these details to the reader. And that comes as a flow of informations to our minds. So I am not at all, familiar with these dinosaurs and all those things. Because my reading, my thinking, my writing, everything is different. Because that is literature. Literature in the sense, literature of that established pattern of literature. Social realities, emotions, human emotions. I like that. That's what I am into. At the same time, when I did translations, I have done such works, classics from Kannada to Kumara Vyasa Bharata, Kanagadas, all collected works of Kanagadas and all I have done from Kannada to Malayalam. Then also I experienced that spirit of literature. But this is altogether different. When I go through the book written by Austin, I am going through a different world, and it is full of informations, and it is full of latest informations about the most ancient period, about the extinct species. And so he uses magical realism very effectively as an experienced writer. Magical realism, which is used by great writers who mix realism with reality with fantasy, reality with imagination. And he carries us to a world of fantasy. And suddenly he comes back to his house, to the real life condition, and then goes to his classes, online classes, and points out things related to the education also. Our education system, Vijay rightly pointed out in the case. I went through that. So he even criticized our education system of rote learning and rote teaching through his words in this. Actually, I marked it somewhere, and that book I am missing now. So I can't take that page. Anyway, so he knows very well how to create situations from his own experience and imagination. He excels as a scientific explorer and a writer using magical realism to express the world of his wild dreams and fantasies without ignoring the thread of narrative or losing his grip over the topic. So I told you about it. He calls the tiny, slim dino. See this egg, from this egg, a tiny, slimy dinosaur came out. And see, then he goes to the fantasy, goes to the land of magical realism. So that dinosaur, it was growing in their house, His love towards the extinct species is quite evident here. Even in smaller things, he successfully explores humor. He has got such a sense of humor. If you read the whole book, you will understand how he sees things. Sense of humor is one of the most desirable qualities of a writer. Whenever he says something about the world, the nature, the trees, the creatures, the reptiles, the animals, whatever it is, then he has got a bit of humor everywhere. Everywhere he has got that. And he says, hey guys, he names it Stargazer. He names the dino at home Stargazer. Stargazer, the meaning of the word stargazer is astronomer or astrologer, like that. But there is another meaning for that word. That is a galloping horse which looks backward while galloping. A horse which looks backward while galloping. That is called stargazer. So I thought he may not have imagined that, because I find a dimension to that name, that the very imagination of that which created the name, So he is on time travel with the stargazer. He is going on time travel with the stargazer. So the stargazer goes to some other place in space, in the space, some other planet. May not be. Is it a planet, Austin? It's a separate planet where all the extinct species stay. They are all well there. They have got their library. They have got their dining room. They have got their houses. Everything they have got there. So this stargazer will take them to that world, Then he names it stargazer. He successfully manages to steal fish. That's what I told you about his sense of humor. He successfully manages to steal fish boneless chunks, cookies, more cookies and cookies, etc. After all, I am a great master of stealing chicken for my friend, he says in the book. Okay? So that's just to show how he went. So then he talks about Rajasaurus. Rajasaurus means prince lizard. Habitat is woodlands of India. Its historical period is late Cretaceous. That is Cretaceous 70 to 65 million years ago. Their time is 70 to 65 million years ago. And he, this stargazer takes him to that, that time, not to that separate world, that time. He goes back to the prehistoric times. So many types of dinosaurs. Euoplosaurus, Dilophosaurus, Saurophacus, Trudon, Porosaurus, Mosasaurus, Brontosaurus. I don't know anything about all these things. Only I knew from his book. Because it's an information for all the readers. But that is not just roughly told as a science article. It is conveyed to the reader, it is communicated to the reader through the story. So it is learning. As you said, it is an educator. He is an educator. Really, he is educating the reader through this. And this is basically a book of knowledge. Not only dinosaur, many other species, including gazelles, deers, cheetah, snakes, iguana, leopard, and several other animals, reptiles, etc. He speaks about time travel, I told you, effortlessly. Effortlessly. He, so easy it is. He goes to he goes to that time, not to that place alone. He goes to that time. Millions of years ago, he goes there, and then he comes to the present day life. Comes home and goes to attend online classes. And say, why this homework? Who will do this homework? All rote teaching. And he writes about that. And then after that he again goes there. 145.5 million years ago. They lived these dinosaurs. There he goes along with this stargazer. So it's such a world of magic, such a magical realism. See, we can see in great literary works something like this, because just not creating some. See, anybody can do anything, any type of imagination you can have easily, but meaningful imagination, which have got roots of reality, roots of human relationships, roots of geological knowledge, geological history, knowledge, and knowledge about other creatures, and love towards all species. And he says, we human beings killed we are killing all other species. We are ruining them, he says. So he is such an intellectual who thinks about the universe in a particular fashion, that is in scientific way. He never mentions to any superstitious belief or anything anywhere in the book. He goes only according to the scientific truth. That's the one thing I have seen in this as really a real wonder. A kid of his age, it's really nearly impossible. You can't even imagine that one can do like that. As a promising writer, he plays with the concept of time, explains how he was teleporting, that's traveling down time. That is teleporting. We go by air, we go by train and all. Teleporting means going in such a speed that not only in terms of space, but also in terms of time. Really wonderful, surprising, and he About language, his language, he has got a wonderful command over language. When we read that, we'll understand. He sometimes intentionally goes to malapropism, ridiculing, ridiculously mixing words which sound same, which he calls homophone. In the book, he says it is homophone. Awesome, possum, tree, fire, like this. It is just intentionally, ridiculously mixing words. That also is a part of his sense of humor. You can really enjoy if you read that. And the reptile, this dinosaur speaks. Then he said, how come you speak then? The dinosaur says, all animals can talk. They just don't do it in front of humans. They just don't do it in front of humans. But they talk to him always. All animals and all reptiles, everybody talks to him, and they teach him about the timing, about the time and history and geological conditions of prehistoric times, how many types of, then this particular dino will say, that uncle, this uncle, and so many relatives and all, they will explain everything. But all scientifically correct. Scientifically, everything is correct. I checked some of them in the Google and all other available things, So it was exactly correct. So it is completely scientific. That is what I wanted to tell about his capacity to view the conditions, so conditions of an imaginary world, which he creates to depict all these things. Okay, I do not go deeper into Austin's scientific explorations at all. If anybody wants to speak about the book, it is very difficult because you will have to go by every page, every word he uses. His vocabulary is really fantastic. Actually, the size of an average man's vocabulary has been much debated. But there is a well-established correlation between a strong vocabulary and success. According to Johnson O'Connor Foundation, the research foundation in US, only 3,500 words separate the high vocabulary person from the low. 3,500 words. You should have a stock of 3,500 words to be called as a man with a good vocabulary. Yet those 3,500 words can make the difference between success and failure. Estimate of Shakespeare's vocabulary is something between 18,000 to 25,000 words. Just imagine. So building up one's vocabulary is the only way to know the right word to use in different situations. One of the best ways to improve your vocabulary is to read widely. That he does. He reads widely. He plays puzzles and all, games and all, since, because from there also you get words. If you go to internet, you get so many words. So he has a very good vocabulary, in my opinion. That's why he's effortlessly, he expresses all these ideas without much difficulty. He says he can create anything. Can you believe? He breaks the barriers of time and space, both. Any writer's greatest challenge is the concept, how to deal with the concept of time and space. Once Dr. Chandrasekhar Kambar, when I was discussing with him, he said about the concept of time. See, he said an example. Our concept of time is Akhandam Samayanta. Akhandam, undivided time. It's flowing time, continuous time. But the Western concept is past, present, and future. So they cut it into three. We don't, because for that he said an example, he told me an example, that is in Tirupati. The Tirupati Venkatesha made loans up to debts up to 8 crores on those days, on those years. And he couldn't pay it back. So even now, we are paying back in this Undi, when we pay, when we give some money there at Tirupati, it is nothing but paying back the loan made up by him. So our concept of time is like that. That's going on. His debt is still there. and we are reacting to that, responding to that even now. So such a concept of time, that is the strength of a writer. He effortlessly does that. If you really want to understand, enjoy and appreciate the work of this little master, you have to spend some time even on reference of books. Just to make out what he says, you will have to definitely go to internet, definitely go to the dictionaries or any other reference books. That is the way he deals with the topic. He inspires to learn. He inspires us to learn more. A good vocabulary can help us say what we mean to say. That we can learn from his book. Moreover, Austin has a great self-confidence and firm conviction that he is capable of delivering goods in this field. With brimming self-esteem, he turns the stargazer's old scientific diagram as boring. There's an old scientific diagram made by the stargazer. He says in the book, that's boring. And he says it with a smile, not as good as my art. Whatever he has done is not as good as my art. My art is better than the art of stargazer. He said, his confidence is brimming. In one context, here Austin says, Austin Ajit, the super ultimate genuine genius, proclaims that the marble that is a context in the story. There are some competition going on there. Then he was asking about the timings of that particular thing. Then he's saying, Austin Ajit, the super ultimate genuine genius, proclaims that the marmoset and gibbons are, drum roll, the same. Then stargazer says, no, can't your simpleton mind understand anything? You small brain simpleton, he calls himself. The very next paragraph he calls himself, you small brain simpleton, don't you have common sense? That he says. This reminded me of Ika Muhammad Bashir, who was sitting under the Chambaka tree, and a student was coming, a girl was coming inside, and he thought that, then he thinks, a great writer known all over the world, like Muhammad Bashir, is sitting here, and the school girl has come to see the great writer. Then why she came. There are so many fruits in the Jamboti, like Chambaka. Then the girl thinks he is the owner of the tree. So she wanted fruit for 25 paisa. She wanted the food. For that she came. Similarly, he thinks here. See, he may not be knowing about Bashir, but the mindset, the thinking goes why I telling again and again that he has got such a great future, and his parents, I must really commend them. You are doing a very, very wonderful thing. It is your effort that's making him greater. And at last, he says about the big wisdom tree and all. Really fantastic. And then at last he says, when the stargazer was lying on a rock, then he says, at last he says, he was a hologram. At last, after telling all these things, everything, explaining everything, at last he says, he was a hologram. You know what is a hologram? A hologram is a physical structure that diffracts light into an image. The term can refer both to the encoded material and the resulting image. So that's not the reality at all. So such a great work this at this center they get given. I wish him all the best. I wish parents also all the best. And I declare that I have released the book. It was my pride, privilege,